And the trickery.
Right. It's a great deception. And, the question is, who's listening? Satan and his followers are.
Which are fallen angels.
Right.
Those that followed Satan and his way.
And let's take a look at some of the circumstances of Satan's followers now, because we talked about him and now how mighty he is, although he's not as mighty as he'd like to be, and his time is terminal.
That's right. Let's read Genesis 6, 2 through 4. That the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all who they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with men, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of men of old, men of renown.
So here it's talking about the Genesis account, and again we're going through this very quickly just to sort of wrap up the point of this Halloween thing. Talking about the fall of many of Satan's followers to cohabitate with the daughters of men.
That's bad angels mating with women and creating an offspring called the giants on the earth.
Right, the Nephilim.
The Nephilim.
And this was not a good thing. This was contrary to the will of God. And that's why the flood came around, because it had to take away that and start with humanity in its purest sense again, as pure as it was in being sinful. Now, we see that happening in Genesis. Here's what Peter says about those events in 1 Peter 3:18 through 20.
For Christ also suffered for sins once for all, the righteous for the unrighteous, in order to bring you to God. He was put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the Spirit, in which also he went and made a proclamation to the spirits in prison, who in former times did not obey, when God waited patiently in the days of Noah during the building of the ark, in which a few, that is 8 persons, were saved through water.
So now think about that, because here, this, Jonathan, if people are grasping this, this is pretty heavy stuff. Okay. 1 Peter 3:18 to 20 is referring directly back to the days of Noah.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying these spirits,
the fallen angels,
okay,
evil angels,
right? They are in prison. You say, okay, well, what kind of prison are they in? Because it's saying that Jesus went and made a proclamation to them in prison. He's showing his taking back of the world. Go back to the bottom scripture on the page.
Jude 1, verse 6. And angels that kept not their own principality, but left their proper habitation, he hath kept in everlasting bonds under darkness unto the judgment of the great day.
So that describes the prison that they're in.
They're in restraint.
And in darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Now think about that for a second. Okay, think about that for a second. If Satan's followers are in this prison of darkness, okay, that means there is some limitation as to what they can do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But did you ever notice that evil happens in darkness?
Absolutely.
And folks, that's not a coincidence. That is not just, it's because it's dark and you can't see. No, it's because that's where evil lives. That's where these fallen angels, which were once bright, glorious beings.
They were holy angels before God. Chose
to follow Satan's path, and now they're in these chains of darkness. Now, go back up to 2 Corinthians 11:14 to 15.
And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works.
Now, think about that. See, it gets, we're sort of spinning this tangled web of what? If you want to be scared on Halloween, follow this reasoning. This should be enough to scare you. Seriously. And this is something to be afraid of, because now it's saying, okay, they're restrained in chains of darkness, and yet they are allowed to appear
as good.
Right, as angels of light. And again, when you look at how all of this stuff in the media and the movies specifically, how often do you have it where something on the other side does something for the good of man? And there's this power that comes that's not human that is rescuing. There is so much darkness that is translated as light when you look at our world, especially America. because we've become such a promiscuous society, because anything goes, because we've rationalized ourselves into believing that everybody's feelings are what laws should be built upon.
As long as it's politically correct, Rick, I have no problem with it.
Okay, then. Wow.
Sorry.
We're gonna talk later. But here's the thing. If, in fact, you have all of these scriptures lining up to show us that Satan has the power over this world, and his followers, while they're bound in chains of darkness, still have an effect on this world, we're in a very, very, very difficult world to be in.
That's for sure.
James 2:19.
Thou believest that God is one, thou doest well. The demons also believe and shudder.
Okay, so look, they know
God is God.
Right.
That's it.
They do. And it's frightening to them to know that. But it's like sometimes when you get a wounded animal in a corner, that wounded animal is not just going to lay down and die, it's going to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's happening here. We are in an environment where these demons, which we'll call them demons at this point because they are fallen angels, and they don't deserve to be called by angels any longer, are in the fight of their lives. And they are fighting, and they're fighting through humanity. So if they are looking to appear as an angel of light, and we are wanting to communicate with our dead grandmother, and we feel that we've communicated, but our grandmother's actually dead, fill in the blank.
You're talking to a demon, and the demon knows history, knows people, knows facts, and boy, they can sure mess things up.
And I think that's what we need to be afraid of. I think that we need to have a great respect for life and death as God put it in place in the scriptures. When we look at Halloween, again, you got all these different layers to this Halloween onion, and you can have the fun and games on the outside, but the further in you go, it's like the further away from truth you get. And you get to the core where it's the communication with the dead. And you know what, folks? It's just a place we should never, ever go, because the scriptures tell us that is not a place of goodness. It is a place of wretched evil. Is Halloween happy? I probably depressed you, but hey, that's the way it goes sometimes here on this program. Folks, we hope you've enjoyed being with us this morning as we've taken, hopefully, a very honest look at something that we all know about and everybody smiles about, to trying to get to the bottom line and understand where it comes from and the things we need to be aware of. For Jonathan and Rick, this is Christian Questions. Until next week, is Halloween happy? Think about it.